No. Children's fruit snacks.
All right, we've still got about 3 minutes.
All right, so we've got things on YouTube now, just so everybody's aware.
Thank you.
Be good.
He mainly says that for me.
All these windows open. Okay.
Senor Alex. So we're just missing, I don't see Kevin yet. It's 6:30, but if everybody's all right, we'll hang on a minute or two, see if we get Kevin and Joe on here. Well, I did not hear from Kevin, so I thought he was going to be here. I know Joe planned on being here.
Yeah, I think Joe said he'd call in.
All right, well, it's 6:32. I guess somebody will straggle in. I see Missy's on the call. We've got Ed, Cheyenne, and Amy. We're missing Kevin. So we do have a quorum. So going through the agenda, as the same as previous Zoom meetings, we'll skip the Pledge of Allegiance. The roll call was myself, Ed, Cheyenne, and Amy at this point. And And we do have a quorum. So looking for any questions, comments, or a motion on the minutes from May 21st, 2020 meeting?
I will motion to approve the minutes for May 21st, 2020.
I'll
I'll second.
You can have it.
All right. So Cheyenne made the motion, Ed seconded. All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, Missy, I wasn't sure if you had audio or not.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay. So the minutes from the previous meeting passed. So we'll go to new business. Designate an RDC member to serve on the Fortville Business Park Development Control Committee. This is all new to me. So Adam?
Sure. So for this item, everybody's familiar with where the Fortville Business Park is located. It's the industrial park that's just behind Town Hall here. They have covenants in for the business neighborhood. And those covenants date back to about 2003 or so. And because the town, the RDC participated in the original development of that project, the town is actually a member of the think of it almost like the homeowners association. It's the business owners association, basically. And so anytime there's new development that's planned or expansion of new development, there's an RDC member that is a part of that architectural board. So we don't get too many requests in there, obviously, because it's mostly built out. We do periodically, but when I was going through it recently, I said, oh yeah, the way it's written is we're supposed to have somebody appointed formally, one person from the RDC to serve in that capacity. So any questions?
Looking for somebody who'd like to be on that. Doesn't sound like a major commitment.
It's not.
Missy, I don't know if you got video or not, but Kevin has joined us now, so he's here.
Okay, thanks.
All the other board members work, don't they?
Yes.
Well, I'll volunteer for it.
All right.
If it gets too bad, I'll quit.
That's not in our vocabulary.
Oh, okay.
There's no quitting.
I'll get impeached then.
Okay, that might be. I can't do that. Okay, so Adam, you've got that down that Ed's going to take that spot.
Yes,
Do we
thank
need
you.
to vote? Are we,
Yeah,
I
why don't you go ahead and just do a motion on it?
Okay.
I'll make a motion for Ed to take the, to serve on the Fortville Business Park Development Control Committee.
I will second that. Thank you, Ed.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Okay.
Adam, could you get me the material that's written on that?
I sure
Whatever
can.
it is. I can pick it up. You don't have to email it. It's a bunch of pages.
You want a hard copy or digital?
Yeah. Just print me out a hard copy
Print
and I'll
one?
just
Okay.
pick it up at the town building.
Okay.
Okay. Next, item 3B is to consider and approve, if desired, funding to purchase extra black powder coated light poles, 3, and then LED street signs, 3, to be kept in storage by the town for replacement at the intersection of Madison and Broadway as needed.
All right. So for this particular item, as I'm sure most people are aware, the new traffic signal that was put up at Madison and Broadway has some aesthetic upgrades that were approved that frankly INDOT doesn't do a lot of. So we're glad that they were willing to work with us to make that a little bit nicer. The only thing that the state has said is that if those poles are ever damaged or the signs are ever damaged, if we did not have a replacement of those materials in-house, then the state would just put up, you know, that in the case of a sign, they put up just a typical green sign. And in the case of a pole, it'd just be one of those basic gray steel poles. So Joe had reached out to the contractor to get a price on that. And so there'd be 3 powder coated poles. And then there would be 3 signs, the way that intersection's configured. So the poles are about $5,100 a piece, and the signs are about $2,500 a piece. So I don't, unless Joe feels otherwise, I don't think we have a big push one way or the other. Just if you think it's a worthwhile expense, we can go ahead and move that forward.
Is there a reason we picked 3 of each?
Yeah, it's the way the intersection is configured. So it's kind of the way they put the lights up. It's not a typical 4-legged intersection. So it's just a T and it's at an angle. So it's actually, I guess it's a little cheaper than a typical 4-leg intersection.
So do we have the black signal poles there now?
Yeah, the black signal poles were installed.
And how many is there at the intersection?
There's 3.
There is 3.
Yeah.
And there's 3 signs, right?
Correct.
What's the perceived option of damage? Like, would they all be damaged at the same time? If one gets damaged, are they all damaged, or could we just have a spare instead of 3 spares? Or would we...
you know, that's a good idea. That could be your other option too, is maybe just for the poles, maybe you could buy 1 pole. So we have that on hand. And then you could buy, for the signs, you might want to get 1 of each just because they're unique for the road names. But no, I think the odds of everything being destroyed all at once are low. I think the odds are higher of somebody, you know, getting into an accident and smashing one of the poles, or maybe during a storm event, one of the signs coming down. Again, fairly low likelihood, but it happens. As you know, people are always running into something. So
if we didn't have them poles, can we order them and get them in a timely manner from this company?
Yeah, we don't know. That's part of the problem. We don't know how long it would take to come in. And what's going to happen is the state, in the interest of safety, is going to want to get a pole put up there immediately if one is completely damaged. So.
Amy had already asked the question I wanted, is why we picked 3, and then Ed touched on the delivery time. So I'm kind of wondering if everybody would consider just at least getting 1 pole and going ahead and ordering all 3 signs, since they are unique, and that's probably going to have a longer turn time. I'm looking at, when I add them all up, it's $22,950. But if we take 2 signs or 2 poles off, we're looking at about a little over 10,000. Or excuse me, 12,000. And if those poles take a really long time to come in, well, then maybe we come back and say, it took 3 months to get those poles. Then let's go ahead and order a couple more, just in case the catastrophic event. But that's my opinion.
Do you think if we put these in storage that they'll be outdated before we use them?
I'm sure that's possible. I mean, the only other downside is if we have one on hand, we got to take up space in our storage garage for it. But it's also the role of the municipality to have parts on hand. So we can certainly make room.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting 1 pole and either 1 of each sign, or, just so we have a spare on hand.
Yeah.
And then if in 3 months one of the poles gets ruined, then maybe we're like, that was quick. let's order more than one at a time.
Yeah.
Versus having, you know, what, $15,000 worth of poles just sitting there in case. That seems like a,
Overkill.
yeah.
What do you think about that, Adam?
I think that's very logical. I think that's a good idea. Joe, are you there? Do you got any issues with that? I don't know if I think he was around, but he's not on anymore. So yeah, if you want to go with that, makes sense to me.
Okay, so he just texted me. He said he hung up because we couldn't hear him. He said the plan was to replace and have one pole on hand, powder coated black, NDOT suggestion. If a pole gets hit and we don't have a backup, they will put up a galvanized pole immediately. Street signs for Maple and Vitality Drive, which I believe we're going to hold off on for now. So the plan was to replace and have one on hand.
There you go. That seems to be consistent with, I guess what the something may have gotten lost in translation, but yeah, that it all seems consistent. Just have one pole on hand.
Okay.
So we don't need to replace any of the poles that are there right now.
No.
Okay.
And if I'm not understanding Joe's text correctly here, and we need to read. Joe, you there?
Oh, he was.
He's here, but I can't hear you. Now try.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello? There you are. Okay, I've been talking to myself for quite some time here. I apologize. Nobody was able to hear me. And I missed your conversation, but as far as going back to the NDOT, the poles and all, what NDOT's recommendation is for us to purchase one black powder coated pole to have it in our yard in case one ever got damaged due to an accident. They said if one of those poles got knocked down, if we didn't have one readily available, they would immediately put up a galvanized pole so they could get it up and running again. And at that point, they wouldn't come back and change out the black powder coated. What I've heard from the contractors that provided the pole was those poles with the powder coating on them laying around the yard, good chance we'll get chipped up and dinged up just by laying around. So, you know, that's totally your guys' call, however you want to do that, if you want to have one readily available or not.
I think the path we're headed down, Joe, is, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, the path we're headed down is to go ahead and buy one pole, but go ahead and buy the 3 signs since those are unique and have names on them.
Okay, and the price for the signs, those the thought, I don't know that we were looking to have a backup on the signs. When we were looking at the street signs, we were looking to also do the intersection of Maple and then Vitality Drive. We were going to use those backlit signs for those other 2 intersections. As it turns out now, it looks like 2023, I believe it is, could be out to 2024. NDOT is going to be redoing the intersection of Maple Street and putting in turn lanes and everything. So at that time might be when we want to look at putting in the backlit signs for that intersection. I don't know if you want to look at Vitality at this time or just hold off, maybe do it when Maple goes in.
What is it?
Go ahead,
Go
Amy.
ahead, Amy.
What's the process if we don't have the specific street sign and they just put up a generic one? What's the cost, or can someone go change that out real quick when we get a new sign in? Like, is that a huge?
We would have to
like
hire.
a pole sounds like a huge project, but just like changing out the sign, is that a big deal?
These signs are backlit and they're hanging from the cables across Broadway and across Madison, just like the stoplights are. So it would take an electrician that specializes in that, you know, type of thing with a bucket truck, get up and knows how to get into the panel for NDOT's power to power up those lights and those signs.
So if we don't have it on hand and we need it, it's going to cost significantly more to because we still have to buy the sign and then we have to pay someone to install the new sign. And it's a fairly
That's
special
correct.
person. Okay.
And
Yeah,
if we
that's
have the sign on hand, NDOT will take care of it. Is that right?
I can't commit for NDOT. I know they will on the pole. As far as the sign, I can't speak for that.
So if we don't have, so is there a real benefit to having these, pre-ordering these signs other than timeliness? Are we gonna have to pay an electrician either way to go out there and hang the sign if it gets damaged?
That I don't know. I mean, I would think when NDOT's in there repairing everything, putting up the lights and stuff, if they get knocked down, that they would put the signs up as well. But I just don't want to. I don't want to commit and say they would, just in case they, don't understand it the way I do.
It would make sense that they would do all that, but then again, we are talking about the state.
Why don't we table this issue until you get more information on the turnaround when you order the pole or the signs? And, if it's going to cost us for an electrician to do it either way, it sounds like to me there's a few variables here we really don't know it yet.
Can we, can I make an amendment to your suggestion, Ed? I think we're all in agreement on the pole, and that seems to be really the bigger deal, that we definitely want to have a pole on hand. So would everybody agree that we just go ahead and give them the okay to get at least one pole in place as a reserve? Because I mean, if it's another month before we meet and an accident happens between now and then now they're in the position we don't want to be in. And I think the signs, I'm a little less concerned about those signs. Like Amy said, the pole seems like a really big deal. Would you guys be on board with going ahead and giving the okay to order one pole and hold off on the signs till we get more information?
How do you feel about it, Joe?
I actually like that recommendation. If you want to have a pole to make sure we get a black one put back up due to damage, then by all means we could store it at the shop. The signs, I don't know, it's kind of touch and go. We could have a pole knocked down, the signs could be knocked down but not damaged. So what the chance of those signs getting damaged, needing to replace them right away? I kind of got a feeling if it gets, if it's that bad, we could put up a regular sign on a post until we can get those signs ordered and get an electrician out here, rather than spending the money to have them lay around in the shop.
So
get damaged.
So right now they don't.
Damage just sitting around too.
So right now there's only two signs that are lit, and that's at Madison and 67, right?
That is correct.
And then they're going to do Maple Street a few years later, right?
That is correct.
So if we got the two signs for the 67 and Maple and one pole, that would be sufficient, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if you want to order the signs for 67 and Maple at this time, when it could be 4 years down the road before they install those.
I don't like
probably
that.
rather wait close. Probably wait closer to the time that they're ready to put them up.
Are the signs at Vitality? Isn't that lit up?
No, it's not.
No, I just wanted to mention, for not to overcomplicate things, but so the RDC had already pledged $15,000. I don't know if it was you guys or the previous RDC, for some traffic signal and signage upgrades to the 3 intersections in town. So, I mean, I suppose you could always, if you wanted to get those fancier signs for the other 2 remaining intersections sooner rather than later, you could do that.
I don't like the idea of them laying around if it's going to be 2-3 years before they're even potentially used.
But what I'm saying is
we could go ahead and hire a contractor to install them now.
Yeah,
but they would have to be relocated or moved, or maybe changed out when we get ready to upgrade the intersections.
And they could get damaged again then. I think we should wait on that. I feel comfortable with just buying one pole. Like,
Agreed.
I think that's enough. And then, you know, if it's annoying sitting there in the garage, and then at the next upgrade we use that pole instead of buying a new pole. Like, I mean, I think the pole's gonna get used no matter what, right?
Mhm.
So I think it makes sense to have one on hand.
Okay.
In case we need it.
I can live with that.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I will make a motion for us to buy one spare pole for the intersection at Madison and Pendleton Pike.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Okay. And then I think Joe or Adam, if we need to revisit the, you know, the poll or the sign again, you know, like Ed said, bring back some more detail as far as turn time, you know, the how soon it's needed, if we need one in storage. You know, I think everybody's certainly open to that discussion. So if we need to revisit it, you know.
I should have weighed in earlier. Normally, when you're doing traffic signals, 9 to 12 weeks is not unheard of, even longer for anything traffic signal related.
As far as signage? Okay.
Anything, poles, signal heads, they usually tell you 9 to 12 weeks or more.
Okay. Well, and I think, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but Adam, I think I'd like to hear anyway, how long this poll takes to come in. And then if you guys think we need to seriously consider a second spare or even a third, you know, I think that's certainly open for discussion based on what everyone was saying here. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay. That's it for new business. We didn't have any old business. So we'll go on to review of financials. Did anybody have any questions for Misty?
I have one. On the 104 account, you got the two $500 entries. Was that for the FACA project for the two of the three participants?
Yes, that was for, yeah, the facade project. Yes, it was.
Okay, who is the third one bailed out?
No, they
No.
paid. It just,
Yeah.
Okay,
just recently they paid, probably since this was printed, since.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
okay. That's
So
all
all
I
three,
have.
all three are on board now?
Yes.
Okay. Any other financial discussions?
I would like to point out from the Hancock County Auditor, the 272,741. That's a significant increase from last year.
What was it last year?
Last year was 164,508.
All right.
That's
Well, I
great.
think-
I mean, that's huge.
Oh yeah, I think Buzz had alluded that this year was going to be a good year.
Yeah, we're starting to catch up. That's great.
Okay.
That's all I
So-
have.
Ed, that'll reflect in your paycheck that we're getting that extra money. Okay. So can I get a motion to approve financials? Do I need to do that, Missy?
I'm sorry.
We need to approve the financials or just read?
Sometimes you guys do, sometimes you don't. I mean, we can.
Okay. Let's can I get a motion to approve the financials as submitted?
Make a motion to approve the financials as submitted.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, and then we've got approval of invoices. Looks like we had 3 of them. Of course, there's Crone, Banning, and 9 Star. Is there any
Let's-
questions?
Yeah, I'll just give you a quick overview on these. So Banning has to do with the South Madison Boulevard analysis, the detailed study. So they're putting drawings together right now. So once they have some of those updated, based on, Joe and I took an early look at it and had some comments and got them some more information that they needed. They're also doing some survey work on the property. So once we have something more interesting to share with you guys, we will, on the actual documents that they're creating. The second one from 9 Star, that's, if you recall, for the underground power with 3-phase power along Broadway for the Moondrops Distillery and a few other properties in that corridor. And then the third one is Buzz's invoice for various items that he outlines in the memo.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Can I get a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the 3 invoices as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, so we'll open it up for any public comment. I see there's a couple numbers on here I don't recognize, so I don't know if we have anyone on here that want to make comments. Hello? Someone's trying. All I see is a 398 number that someone's trying to talk. Okay, so I'm going to take that as a no public comment. Staff comments. Nothing from Adam. Joe?
Well, I wanted to do an update on the appraisals for that property there at 624 East Broadway, where the South Madison Street project was going to go through the new stoplight. If you'll remember at the last RDC meeting, we had a discussion on getting a couple of appraisals for those parcels to see if the RDC wanted to make an offer on that property. I think from the conversation we had on the cost of the appraisals at the last meeting, I think that everybody was under the impression that they wouldn't be very expensive. And just to let you know that I did go out and I got some quotes, some prices for appraisals. There was a couple of them that were under $2,000, and I know what they were proposing to do. Alex had some concerns with the amount of detail they would be providing for the appraisal, and I received, I believe it was 3 additional appraisals that were up into the $4,000 range apiece. So before we pulled the trigger to do anything with that, I wanted to bring that back to the RDC to get your take on it.
So just to make sure everybody understands what Joe's saying is the notes I've got, we kind of anticipated, because that property is residential at this point. The expectation or anticipation was that those appraisals generally run $500 for a residential appraisal. Well, that property is zoned commercial. And now they're asking approximately $1,500 to $2,000 per appraisal. And we would have to have 2. So I mean, instead of looking at, $1,000, we're looking at somewhere between $3,000, $4,000, up to $8,000 for 2 appraisals. So give you guys a second to digest that while I keep yapping, but based on that information, my path suggestion would be is that we hold off on doing anything until we hear back from Banning on the feasibility. You know, spending $2,000, $4,000, $6,000, $8,000 on appraisals when we don't even know if it's something we're going to be able to do for that project, to me seems silly, but I'm not the only one on this committee, obviously, so I'm going to shut up and let you guys talk.
What's the timeline for banning to be done with that?
Let's see.
I think you're originally scheduled for this RDC meeting, so I'm guessing they should have something before the next meeting.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, June, July.
And this property is not something that is going to sell quickly, I assume. If we're looking at waiting a month for the feasibility, and that like that would be my only concern is if we wait, this house, I mean, there's you know,
Well, we've already
part of it that it's for sale.
we've already Joe or Adam, one of them has already contacted the realtor to advise them of the path for that property.
So they have to disclose that now to anyone looking at buying?
Well, I have my realtor's license, but it's not been active. I mean, it's in reserve status, so I don't know what the law is now. I would think ethically, he's responsible to let anyone know that property is being looked at for this project. Alex, do you know off the top of your head, is that realtor required to let a prospective buyer know that the town is looking at it?
I don't think they are. It would come down to the individual realtor's ethical considerations. I don't think that's the type of latent defect or consideration that would be required to be disclosed.
Let me ask you a question. If we don't buy that property and that road comes through there, we can still attain that property at the same price of 2 average appraisals, right?
That's right.
But then
it's possible property value may go down with the road in the middle of it. So, you know, it's you just don't know. You don't know what the market's going to do. You don't know what property values are going to do. But if you can avoid the potential conflict of having to go back and forth with the property owner down the road because they're willing sellers now, and we can use all of the property now, that's certainly worthwhile considering. But you lose that worthwhileness, to make up a word, if you start sinking thousands of dollars in appraisal fees. And it might just be better to wait until we've got the feasibility study, see exactly how much of the property you're going to need, and go from there.
Well, see, this project's been going on for over 2 years, and who's to say if it's going to happen?
Well,
right. I totally agree with that perspective. I think it makes sense from our end to wait. I also think that if we are pretty sure that this is going to happen, I would prefer to do business kindly with a willing seller versus taking someone's property.
Right.
I mean, that's the only thing that makes me stop and say, like, maybe it makes sense. But I think financially it makes sense to wait. That's a concern of mine.
And that's a considerable amount of money you're putting out for something that may happen.
Right.
Well, one thing that I want to mention, you all, for your kind of food for thought as you're thinking about this is, worst case scenario, if for some reason the road doesn't go through, from a planning and economic development perspective, there's always a value to having property.
Yeah.
So that's one way of looking at it, at least thinking about it.
So would an option be to table this until the next meeting when we find out exactly what the feasibility is? And then also in the meantime, can we get some literature on what these two appraisal or the two levels of appraisal would give us as far as the detail? Because you were concerned about the low level being not much detail, and then spending that extra money for.
Well, and that's I don't think there's any issues sharing all of the responses of the appraisers with everyone on in the group, but it's really hard to just break down what they're actually going to be giving us. Alex, have you seen all of these proposals from the appraisers?
I have. Joe sent them to me.
Okay, so based on what you read, not holding you to it, but who's going to give us what we want, and which one do you think is going to be our cost? I mean, I'm looking at $2,400 for both of them, $4,000 each, $4,300 total. I mean, is it realistic that we're going to spend $8,000 for these two appraisals?
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising to me how expensive that is as well, but to have an appraisal that you can rely upon and move forward and not have to go back and spend more money down the road. That was the issue I didn't want to get into. We had at least one proposal where, in essence, the fellow was saying, well, I'll kind of pull some numbers off of Zillow and kind of armchair it, and then if you need something more specific, I'll go back and bolster it after the fact. And I don't feel comfortable doing it that way because you guys have to make an offer based on the average of two appraisals from certified appraisers, and I want it to be an accurate, well-researched, reliable appraisal that when you're making an offer to spend taxpayer dollars, you can be confident in both appraisals and the way that they were developed and the numbers that they give. So yeah, I mean, to get that type of those types of numbers, this property seems to be more expensive than some others that we've dealt with. But
yeah, I can't say I agree that $4,000 for each appraisal, that just seemed like the guy was trying to price himself out of having to do it based on what the other ones looked like. So Adam or Joe, would you mind forwarding the appraiser and appraisal quotes and data to the rest of the members in the group, just so they can peruse it?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. And then, based on everyone's thoughts, I don't know where we landed. Do you guys feel like we need to just hold off?
I agree. I think we should hold off.
Yeah, at least
I just wanted to express that one concern because, again, I think the more ethical way is to get the property at, when someone's selling it.
Right.
But I also don't think that it's ethical to waste $8,000 on a property we may not want.
Hence the conundrum.
Correct.
Alex, I got a couple questions for you. Let's say the town did buy that property. Can we rent it?
So that is a tricky situation to get into. I mean, I would advise no.
Okay.
If
we don't use it, can we sell it?
Yes.
Is it again the same? We would sell it for market value, or again, two appraisals and someone's going to pay for what?
Yeah. So at least the initial offering cannot be less than the average of two certified appraisals. And you put it out to bid. And then if no one comes in at that offer price, then after 30 days, I believe give or take 30 days, you can negotiate for a lesser price and get to the fair market value. But at least the initial process does begin with 2 more appraisals and setting an offering price that's at least that average.
Yeah, because I'm with Amy 100% that we've got willing sellers. That's the best, absolute best time to buy. But you know, they're sitting at $330,000, and I asked a friend of mine just to take a look at it and give me a guess what you think this is worth, and it was under 200,000. So for its best use. So it's, my concern would be as if my friend was relatively close on that number, and we spend $8,000 and that number comes in at 210,000. They're asking 330. You know, are they even going to listen to us? So I still agree with everything that Amy said, and it's a pickle to be in, because you want to do the right thing by those people, but you got to do the right thing by the rest of the taxpayers and spend their money appropriately. So personally, I would like to see us give Banning time to wrap things up, make that project look a little more palatable, and then we can go ahead and say, all right, it looked like we were going to do good. Let's go ahead and get those appraisals and move forward from there. But again, we don't want to sit on our hands too long, let that property get sold. But I think it's at a price, I don't think anybody's going to be jumping on it for $330,000 based on where it's at, what it is, and those kind of things. But again, that's why there's 5 of us, because it's not just about my opinion. So I'm looking for a motion I mean, if you guys just want to table, I don't think we have to make a motion. That was just a discussion we had. So if everybody's in agreement, I say we just wait until we hear from Banning. Is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Yeah, good with that.
Alex, am I on target there that we haven't done anything we need to vote on or make a motion or anything, right? Okay. So board comments. I don't think, Joe, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, that was it for me. Thank you.
Okay. And Adam, you were good. Any other board members have anything you want to talk about?
I did want to say, since we last had our in-person meeting, I got a new job at Westport Homes, which they're developing on the south side of town. So I just wanted to let you guys know it probably won't affect the redevelopment commission, more my position on the plan commission, but if anything would come through that involved Westport Homes or DR Horton, I would recuse myself from any discussion and voting, and I just wanted to let you guys all know that before anything would come through. I don't think we have any more development planned in Fortville, but just to let you guys know.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Shane, if you don't mind, what's your role with Westport?
My title is Division Regulatory Compliance Administrator. I oversee their OSHA and stormwater compliance on all of their Indianapolis and Fort Wayne projects.
Good.
I was looking for CEO or CFO or something. What's up with that?
At time, no, just kidding.
Okay. All right. Anybody else got anything? Okay. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:15.
I'll second.
Missy?
Yes, sorry, who was that the second?
Amy.
Okay, thanks, Amy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks all.
See ya.
Thank you.
I'm
The next meeting's in person.
woo!
Really?
The next meeting is in person.
All right.
I know I can't wear my sweatpants.
Amy, what's up with that?
I've got kids and I'm a
Oh,
single parent, so I actually really like these.
I miss seeing everybody's smiling faces.
I do too. I really like things in person. It's just, you gotta find a place for the kids.
All right. Well, sorry to disappoint you.
All right. All right. See you guys later. Bye.
I have a quick question for Joe that is not pertained to the RDC. Should I ask here or should I email him, or it's about streetlights on my street?
Go ahead. I'll help you out.
I live in Timber Ridge, and there was a resident that walks late at night, and I noticed it before summertime hit, that there are multiple streetlights on East and West Carolina Street that are out, and I didn't know who to reach out to about that, but I don't know if you guys do that or if you like contract out with the power company or whatever, but
Those street lights are actually owned by Duke Energy.
okay.
We can call them in. We pay for the service that's provided to take care of the lights. I can usually just get online and report them, but that's something that anybody could do, any citizen. If you happen to be out around town, if any citizen happens to be around town and sees a Duke light out, a street light, if you go to Duke's website, there's a place to report street light out, street light outages, and you can just punch it right in. That's probably the quickest way to do it. But by all means, if you send it to me, I'll be happy to do it. The only thing is, if it's you have to give me a real close address, because sometimes around town there's like two lights on the same corner, just opposite corners.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to help identify during the daytime which one it is.
Okay. Yeah, I should be able to do that. Sounds easy enough, but I appreciate your help. Thank you so much.
Thanks for letting us know about it.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one, you guys.
All right.
Thank you. You too.